for 2.5 years.
But since Hughes had also recently faced several other charges in other counties, some are wondering if those were taken into account when he was released so quickly.
We know now, hindsight, how bad he could have been. It's so unforeseeable. People miss court dates. Dozens and dozens every single day.
Now, guys, we did send an email to the Mecklenburg County DA's office to follow up on these questions. We are waiting to hear back from them.
All right. Thank you so much, Megan.
Folks and families living with the impacts of ALS know it is a consistent battle that takes almost all of facets of your life over.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a prominent Charlotte family that's keeping their father's memory alive despite that fight by supporting those that are going through the same fight. WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden shows us the nonprofit that is seeking solutions and truly saving lives.
An ALS diagnosis impacts the entire family, and a family who dealt with this with their own loved one more than a decade ago is now trying to help others, trying to ease the burden for other families.
I have a very rare but lucky form of ALS that moves extremely slow.
It may seem hard to imagine that Nikki McDonough calls herself lucky, but when it comes to ALS, the progressive disease that can often move very quickly, the 44-year-old is grateful despite battling the daunting illness.
It changed everything. I went from an independent person who, had a career and a life, and it kind of took all of that away. I had to relearn things. I had to learn how to accept help.
Some of that help has come from the Joe Martin Foundation. Martin was a beloved Bank of America executive who battled ALS for 12 years. After he died, his caretakers and family teamed up to start the foundation in his honor.
This is what he wanted to happen, and it's happening, and every year it gets better.
The foundation provides mental and physical help for people with ALS and their families, even providing important equipment and an aid, all for free.
So this gives me more independence. I feel more on my own.
Because she says the disease can be overwhelming.
Every day something's getting worse, and every day you have to learn to do something new to adjust to that. So you just have constant questions and anxiety about where your life's going to go, what's going to happen next. So it changes your whole outlook on life.
Joe B. Martin knows that all too well. His dad was Joe Martin. Now he and the rest of the foundation are working to spread awareness, bringing a Broadway star, Aaron Lazar, who is also battling ALS, to Charlotte.
This is really a gift back to the community to help people, to help the community be better at being a community, because there's somebody around you who needs some hope.
Like Nikki, who says in addition to sending an aid to help her and all kinds of equipment, hope is the thing she needed most. And that's what the foundation gave her.
And they just kind of step in and help you take a deep breath and realize we can do this one thing at a time. And they send help.
The organization has seen so much success, they're getting ready to expand to Greensboro and Winston-Salem. And if you want more information on the Joe Martin Foundation event that's coming up, check out our website, WCNC.com. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
Part of the goal of our Seeking Solutions segments is to shine a light on those who are making a difference and giving a voice to those who might often go unheard.
So we wanted to ask you this: whose voices are we missing? If you know a group or individual who's trying to improve our community, we want to hear about them. You can send an email to newstips@WCNC.com or reach out to us on social media.
Everybody's talking about
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense? Well, in just a few hours, the Federal Reserve will consider lowering interest rates. But if you're looking to buy a house, you'll need to look at more than just interest rates when locking down a mortgage.
Your credit score could be the biggest factor in securing your next loan. Let's connect the dots. The payoff has almost never been bigger for people with excellent credit scores. The Wall Street Journal reports folks with scores 800 and higher locked in an average interest rate of 7.15% from private lenders. That's compared to the average rate of about 7.3% for central bank borrowers. It's great news for people with high scores because it gives them the opportunity to shop around for lower rates. Here in North Carolina, folks with good credit can get near a 6.6% rate. Banks used to have the lowest rates in town, but now mortgage companies have taken that title. As long as that's the case, folks with high credit scores will have a massive leg up when the time comes to buy a home. And that is Connecting the Dots.
More than 4 million Americans will turn 65 this year, which means they'll have to navigate a new health care journey, Medicare. That's according to a report from the Alliance for Lifetime Income.
If you tuned into our 6 o'clock newscast yesterday, you saw a report from our Nate Morbido laying out a Medicare error that dropped a cancer patient's coverage before she could even get treatment. Now, that mistake was resolved, but the situation provides a glimpse of the sometimes complicated process. We understand choosing coverage and looking at the options can be a lot to sort through.
Yeah, here's WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal with what young seniors need to know to get ahead of this new milestone.
Adults turning 65 this year have much to consider when choosing a Medicare plan and provider, from evaluating current health care needs to anticipating changing life situations. Frankly, the process can be a little daunting, so where should they begin? Dr. Jennifer Taylor, the lead medical director at Humana, says it's important for older adults to start their research now.
Because it's really important to understand all the different parts of Medicare so you can make a decision based on your own individual needs.
Taylor says there's the traditional Medicare plan, which covers hospital visits and ER visits, but adds those have a deductible.
You also can buy a plan called a Part D plan that covers your prescriptions.
She says while anyone at any age should have
WCNC Charlotte Special Report.
President Biden just touching down at Charlotte Douglas Airport to meet with the families of the 4 fallen officers. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jane Monreal.
And I'm Nick Sturtevant. Let's take a live look out there at West Charlotte, or in West Charlotte, rather, where you can see Air Force One on the ground as we await President Joe Biden. This afternoon, 4 families continue to loved ones who died in an ambush on Monday in East Charlotte.
CMPD Officer Joshua Iyer, U.S. Deputy Marshal Thomas Weeks, and corrections officers Alden Elliott and Sam Polochi died while trying to serve a warrant. Police able to shoot and kill the suspect, but the pain unimaginable for these families.
And the airport now shut down for security reasons as Air Force One makes its way into Charlotte Douglas International Airport. So a heads up for anyone flying in and out of the airport this afternoon.
He will be greeted by several leaders, including North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, Mayor Vi Lyles, and CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings. We saw them walk up to the plane. He will then hold meetings with the families and some of the shooting victims at the airport. So no concerns about traffic at this point.
Yeah, that Air Force One landed about 105. And again, he will be greeted by Mayor Vi Lyles, Police Chief Johnny Jennings, and Governor Roy Cooper.
We expect him to take some time and pay his respects with the families, a private matter for the families involved. Unimaginable pain, as you can imagine, you know, in this situation. But to have the president in Charlotte and speak to them just speaks to the importance and the gravity of what's happening here in Charlotte.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the gravity of the situation. We were talking before we came to this special report, how heavy this week is felt, not only in the Charlotte area, but across the nation. It's just been a heavy week. And again, we're waiting for President Joe Biden to step out of Air Force One any minute now to, again, greet the families of the victims and the families of the wounded officers, also law enforcement officials and elected officials here in our area.
Also this afternoon, he is set to travel to Wilmington, North Carolina. Of course, he will leave Charlotte Douglas and head that way, and he will be there for much of the rest of the day. So that had been on the itinerary, I believe, for his day.
Campaign stop.
But he is here in Charlotte, at least now, to speak to those families. We have our Julia Kaufman there. She's among the media, and she is with a first-hand view of what's happening out there. Well, let's check in with her.
Hey, Jane, Nick, hope you guys can hear me okay. As you can imagine, it's quite loud here on the tarmac with Air Force One. Vehicles, Secret Service standing by for President Joe Biden to step off the plane. As you guys mentioned, he's meeting with families of the fallen officers and victims of the shooting. You know, it's going to be a short visit here in the Queen City, but quite impactful. We know Biden's heart is with those victims. He's showing that by showing up today. The night of the tragedy, he did release a statement calling the victims heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice, and he has specifically addressed the families of the officers killed, saying he and the First Lady and all of America will always be here for them. So now he's doing that by showing up today and meeting with them in their time of unimaginable grief. You guys mentioned some of the leaders here to meet President Biden. Also here, I wanted to mention Director Ronald Davis of the U.S. Marshals Service. Also Todd Ishii, he's the director of the state's adult correction facilities. And of course, as you mentioned, Chief Johnny Jennings. These are all leaders of law enforcement agencies that lost officers Monday. So quite an impactful visit. I'm sure emotions will be running high among family members and law enforcement officials here. The meetings will be taking place at the airport. Of course, as you can imagine, a private moment. Press will not be there, but we are standing by.
Thank you,
for
Julia.
Air Force One, guys.
All right, we saw President Biden just walk down the stairs from Air Force One, now getting ready to get into that SUV.
Yeah, it looks like he is greeting a few folks who can't see because the vehicle is in the way. But I do want to read a statement that President Biden sent out Monday right after this tragedy. He said, quote, "When a law enforcement officer puts on that shield in the morning and heads out the door, their family members dread the phone call, that very phone call that came on Monday. It's like losing a piece of your soul. To the families of those we lost, Jill and I, and all Americans are here for you, and we will always be here for you."
Yes, it's so emotional that his response appreciated by families. You can see him, we see him now shaking hands with some of the leaders there, Governor Roy Cooper, and of course Director Ronald Davis with the U.S. Marshals Service, as well as some of the other officers. There's CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings having a word with him right now.
Yeah, we got a chance to speak with Chief Johnny Jennings. We heard from him in the press conference. Also heard from him yesterday, and it's been an emotional time for his department. Yeah. A lot of emotions, a lot of things to deal with. Again, he will be a part of that meeting as President Biden meets with the families of the victims, those wounded, and other officials in our area and across the state.
It's hard to imagine that balance you have to have. You have to continue the line of work that you signed up for, police work, law enforcement, at the same time mourn some of your own. And the president still having some conversations there with some of our local leaders, as well as the director, Ronald Davis. You can see Mayor Vilyles there in the distance with her, obviously she's the only woman there, but with her dress on, just having some words now with the governor and the mayor. And
we've seen a large support from our community this week since this tragedy on Monday. I mean, large crowds lined streets to pay respects for U.S. Marshal Thomas Weeks. Procession yesterday escorted his body from Charlotte to his hometown in Mooresville. Again, that was on Wednesday, and it escorted his body from the medical examiner's office to Cabin Cook Funeral Home in Mooresville. And again, we saw the lines of people out there. Again, a lot of emotions in our community because these officers on that task force were from different agencies in our area.
You can see now the governor and the president getting into that SUV. There was a moment there he was holding Mayor Lyles' hand. I would imagine for some consoling, for some immediate comfort there, but now have gotten into that SUV with Secret Service surrounding the thing. You are, I mean, it's hard to express the thoughts that go into your, when you see Air Force One land at your airport, Charlotte Douglas being right in our backyard, and knowing that the President of the United States is here just a few miles away. And
it's mixed emotions.
Yeah. Because unfortunately it's for grave reasons, and he's here to support our local law enforcement, as well as the U.S. Marshals Task Force that were trying to just do their job and serve a warrant on Monday.
And then earlier today, there was a procession for another officer, Alden Elliott, and he was a member of that U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. And again, the community has just showed up, and they've shown their support for these officers and their families in what has been a long and emotional week for everyone in our community, and they're just now taking off. President Biden and Mayor Vilyles, Chief Johnny Jennings, other officials.
Well, we can see that motorcade now circling away from Air Force One. We imagine that they would be meeting now with the families of the fallen, as well as the victims from that terrible incident on Monday. And you've been watching a WCNC Charlotte special report. I'm Jane Monreal.
And I'm Nick Sertivant. And for more coverage, more of our coverage to help the families of the fallen officers, you can scan that QR code right there on the top right of your screen. And we're also asking for your help. Tonight, we are partnering with Back the Blue NC and iHeartMedia for Phone Bank to help the families of fallen officers. For now, we want to return you to your regular programming.
Dual action.
We're talking possibly a trillion galaxies.
Yes.
That is a number that is just so hard to compute.
Whether it's the moon, whether it's Mars, it feels like we're on the cusp of something big.
Police officers in New Jersey saving the life of a choking toddler. It was all captured in this dramatic body cam video, including the moment the little 3-year-old started breathing again. Adam Harding from NBC New York breaks down the officers' quick life-saving actions.
Baby. The child was rushed off the private charter bus in Trenton and into the arms of 2 transit police officers who knew right away the 3-year-old wasn't able to breathe.
When they handed the child over, it was unresponsive, unconscious, unresponsive. When we grabbed it, it actually kind of flopped into us.
Sergeant Michael Philandro and K-9 officer Timothy Gagan immediately began trying to clear the child's airway, but they say the toddler started turning blue.
When we determined that the baby still was not breathing, Officer Gagan and myself got in Officer Gagan's car, recognizing that we didn't have time to wait for an ambulance.
With Officer Gagan behind the wheel, Sergeant Philandro kept performing CPR on the child in the front seat.
All right, there we go, buddy. All right.
Body cam footage shows the pulse-pounding moment the 2 officers realized the child was able to breathe again.
En route to the hospital, I think on the body camera, you can kind of hear the baby start to cry a little bit and breathe again. And I think Officer Gagan and I both had a huge sigh of relief. Huge sigh of relief at that point, when we realized, the measures that we took were successful.
After getting to the hospital, the officers say that was the last time they spoke with the family. NJ Transit says the bus was carrying migrants who had just arrived from Texas. They don't call themselves heroes. They're just thankful they were able to save the child's life.
I don't want to play it off and say it's another day in my job, but it's almost like just another call.
Did not show up for court dates. He regularly carried a gun, even though he's a convicted felon, and he often tried to evade arrest, including in Mecklenburg County. There were several charges out for his arrest yesterday that they were trying to serve, not just out of Lincoln County, which we know CMPD has said, also out of Mecklenburg County, a few cases where he never showed up to court. That's what the court records suggest. And also out of Pearson County, where there were some charges as well. This man first kind of got in trouble and became a felon in 2009 when he was charged and convicted of breaking and entering, and continued to go through the court system. And I have a kind of 9 pages worth of court records that show his criminal history. And something we've heard a lot from police, particularly in Charlotte, they've questioned the judicial system often. There's been bail reform. There's been a DA that has decriminalized many drug crimes. And Charlotte-Mecklenburg Fraternal Order of Police President Daniel Redford, I met with him earlier today, and he said, at some point something has to give, right? So let's take a listen.
There's got to be some give and take somewhere in our court system to realize that whatever system they're trying to implement here is not working, that we need to hold people more accountable for their actions.
Now, by all accounts, this man's criminal history does not suggest a particularly violent person, but someone who would not cooperate with police, which I think, and I would assume and hope they knew before going to that house yesterday. But you know what, at the press conference today, someone asked the police chief, Johnny Jennings, what does this say? And he thought, you know what, I can think of so many other cases just like this one where people continue to be in our communities. And this man was all over the state, and we didn't know it.
Well, a lot, as you brought up, Spencer Merriweather has talked about this. Gary McFadden has talked about this, right? I think some deep dives are going to be had, and some conversations are going to be had as how maybe more reform can happen. I understand the anger, right, with people asking, why was he out of jail, right?
So if you don't show up to court and you're trying to serve the warrant, you need people to serve the warrants. Right. You got to find the person, right? Can you hold someone's hand and make them go to court? I mean, it's so many complications to all of this. There's a ton of personal responsibility. True. Right? That's really what this comes down to as well. But there's also a system involved.
Yeah, thanks for digging. Hopefully we'll get more answers throughout the week as well.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day, so many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
With the frequency of extremely hot days increasing, the threshold for alerting you to dangerous heat is getting lower. Heat is the #1 weather-related killer in the U.S., and beating the heat in the Carolinas each summer is tough due to both hot temperatures and high humidity. These conditions will make it tough for your body to cool itself. South Carolina Assistant State Climatologist Melissa Griffin explains why the National Weather Service used health data from previous years before making changes to the heat alerts.
They were seeing more instances of heat-related illnesses at lower thresholds. And so when they went back and looked at the advisory and the watch and warning criteria, what they found was those thresholds were a little too high to kind of alert people that there was the potential for this heat exposure.
For many South Carolina residents, including those in Lancaster and Chesterfield counties, the National Weather Service is using new criteria when it comes to making you weather aware about the heat. A heat advisory is now a heat index of 108 to 112 degrees for at least 2 hours or more, while an excessive heat watch will now require a heat index of 113 or higher in the next 24 to 72 hours. That could become an excessive heat warning when those extreme temperatures arrive. These changes are all 2 degrees lower than previous years. Griffin says heat-related illnesses and death are preventable.
Wear lightweight clothing, limit your sun exposure, make sure you're wearing sunscreen, a hat. These are just some of the easier ways to prevent a heat-related illness while you're outside.
And while the criteria differs in other locations, bottom line, during the hottest months of the year, June, July, and August, it's very important for you to listen to your body and be prepared to act fast. Heat cramps can be the first sign of heat-related illness, and it could lead to heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay informed. With this Weather IQ, I'm meteorologist KJ Jacobs, WCNC Charlotte.
It's amazing. The last record we had was 2022. 1,670 people died from heat-related illnesses and situations. It's a lot.
And you don't ever hear about it, honestly, when it happens.
No, it's just about 5 people per million population.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
It really is.
6:38 now, and Money.com is asking an interesting question for us today. Could you afford to buy your home at today's prices? We're answering the question through a new Redfin survey. The real estate agency says nearly 2 out of every 5 homeowners say they couldn't afford to buy their home if they bought it in today's market. Now, more details from Money.com. The report starts with these numbers, which gives some context to the home buying disparities that were left over from the COVID-19 pandemic. For reference, the median home price at the beginning of 2019 was $313,000. But by the end of just last year, that jumped to over $100,000 to more than $400,000. So if you're trying to figure out how much you need to make to comfortably buy a home for a first time in today's market, well, Money.com says the salary you're looking for is this, $120,000 a year. And that's even with the 10% down payment. In the meantime, officials with the Federal Reserve, who set the interest rates that drive up the price of your mortgage loans, had been unclear whether or not they would raise, keep, or lower those interest rates. That clarity came yesterday. The interest rate, which is the highest it's been in over a decade, is now going to stay the same. Ben, Sarah, I'll send it back to you for one thing.
Kia, thanks.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know, and hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting.
Well, together with an NBA legend, Novant Health is seeking solutions to make sure people in underserved areas in Charlotte get the care that they need.
It has been more than 4 years since the Michael Jordan Family Medical Clinic opened in West Charlotte and in the city's north end, making healthcare affordable and accessible.
WCNC Charlotte's Nick Sturdivant looks at the impact it's having as more clinics are set to open.
Daryl's little smile and joy are contagious.
Yes. He's got this great smile, brighten up any room he goes into.
A recommendation led his infectious spirit here to the Michael Jordan Family Clinic in Charlotte's North End about 2 years ago.
When I came here and I did not have health care, and it meant to me the world, because it was my first time ever, having someone to, help take care of me.
Daryl is a part of the SABRE program that helps people who are unhoused and dealing with substance abuse.
But once I finally decided that I wanted to do something with myself and get clean, I knew something was going to be wrong.
But his physician, Dr. David Baker, knew he made the right decision.
The opportunity to help people who wouldn't otherwise have help, to address needs that haven't been addressed in years.
Michael Jordan donated $7 million to Novant Health to open 2 clinics in Charlotte. The first opened in West Charlotte on Freedom Drive in 2019, followed by this North End location in 2020. They provide affordable medical care for those with or without insurance.
Since COVID has gone down, we've been able to expand. We have specialists, cardiology that comes here once a week. We have a pediatrician on Mondays.
As the clinics continue to grow internally, they are also growing across the state. Novant Health is set to open its first MJ clinic in Wilmington, Jordan's hometown.
You have some people who say, I've been getting health care for decades, but it's been across town.
Hoping to spread the same impact in southeastern North Carolina.
The medications that he put me on for my blood sugar and my blood pressure has absolutely helped me.
As in the Queen City.
It worked out, man. It worked out, man.
Reporting for WCNC Charlotte, I'm Nick Sturdivant.
A CMS teacher and single mother of 3 says she's trying to do everything right, but still finds herself behind the 8 ball financially. So she reached out to a local nonprofit that helps people learn how to budget and is now starting to get ahead on her own money goals. And as WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden shows us, she can answer where's the money with confidence.
Commonwealth Charlotte is changing lives, in many cases teaching basic budgeting skills that a lot of us simply didn't learn, but they're also transforming lives in some cases by literally giving money away. No. Zamora Livingston was a single mom raising 3 kids and working multiple jobs when she decided to go back to school.
And I would just work during the day. We would come home together from school. They did their homework, I did my homework, and then we made it work.
She used to volunteer at her kids' school, then was a teaching assistant when she decided to become a full-blown teacher.
It's very powerful to me because I want them to see if I can do it with all of my responsibilities, you can do it and you don't have these responsibilities.
But now she has student loans and a tight budget, so she sought help from Commonwealth Charlotte, a nonprofit that teaches financial literacy and works to get people financially stable. Counselors help people with reviewing credit reports and analyzing spending habits.
I think that it's amazing because there's no time like now. And she also has children that she wants to be able to teach them about their finances as well.
Livingston is part of a program called 2080, meant to help people save money and ultimately create generational wealth. She contributes money each month, and Commonwealth, thanks to funding grants from the community, matches it.
I'm thinking more of the future. Like, I accomplished my goal of getting my degree and becoming a teacher, but now it's like, what's the next thing? I want to be able to live comfortably when I'm retired, and I want my children to have that same comfort of being able to live and do things that they want to do.
Her son, a senior in high school, wants to attend App State, but instead is choosing to start at CPCC to save money.
That way, when I transfer, it won't be that much.
It's very hard because one side of it is like, I don't want him to, settle. And then the other side is, okay, well, do I need to go out here and get another job or do something different just so I can help to make that dream come true?
Stuck paying her own student loan, she's hopeful her son won't be. And she says she's optimistic now that she's working with Commonwealth Charlotte.
I've been in survival mode for so long, but sticking to a budget has been very helpful. So I have to be very disciplined on what I spend my money on. I can't just go out here and splurge because at the end of the day, we have to have a home to come home to. It does take work, but it's worth it in the end.
Another one of Commonwealth Charlotte's programs that is again changing lives. It helps homeowners stay in their homes. If you want information on that or any of their programs, check out our website, WCNC.com. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte wants to help you get ahead in your finances and your money goals. Our Where's the Money team, along with our digital team, have put together a list of resources to help you with all sorts of money matters. Go ahead, scan that QR code, and you can find it for our resource guide, from tax tips to how to lower your insurance rate, and many other ways to save, because we know that every dollar counts. So this guide can make a difference. So just text GET AHEAD to the number you see on your screen, and you'll do just that. That's the first step. Turning now to
forecast, why don't we? Live pictures right now over I-77 at 277 John Belk Freeway. Both of them right there. Background of gorgeous uptown skyline. Chris joins us right now with a look at what is a very nice but kind of steamy Thursday.
Yeah, we're definitely feeling the difference, almost like it's June. 88 degrees. Whoo! By the way, we should be in the mid to the upper 70s typically this time of year, even to begin the month of May, where the 80s flourished 9 times through the month of April. 77 for a high right around Boone. Now, we are looking at a mostly clear day, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to develop a few of those fair weather cumulus clouds. We're already starting to see that here in Union County, but still a sunny day nonetheless. The warmest days of 2024, it was back on the 18th of April that we hit 89 degrees. Then we had back-to-back days at 88. So it's been tough to get to that mark, but I have a high of 88 for today and then 86 on Friday. This could be outdone by a degree, so I don't think we're going to hit that 90-degree point yet. However, we'll see temperatures come down a little bit, where there will be some rain this weekend, but 90 degrees is possible a week from today, and that would still be ahead of schedule. On average, we usually hit 90 for the first time in Charlotte May 20th, and that's dating back to 1878 worth of records, and that would also be much earlier than we have had over the last 5 years. The earliest we've otherwise had is May 18th. Hour by hour forecast. Mid 80s to the upper 80s throughout the afternoon. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to be seeing a big difference here. We're seeing a slight chance for a little bit of rain. I would say late day heading into the evening. You're also going to see more clouds for tomorrow. That's also going to suppress our temperatures, where our rainfall chances really crank up for Saturday and for Sunday, lingering on Monday. This is not great news, because we know there's a lot going on. There's a big concert in Charlotte. There's the Strawberry Festival. There's multiple baseball games across the area, where in the meantime, we're sitting pretty. For the first half of tomorrow, I don't think you're looking at any rain. By the time you get to about the 2 o'clock hour, we might see a spotty shower, but I really don't think it's until after 7 o'clock we could have a few showers. But one thing you're going to notice, it's really west of I-77 that has more concentration of activity compared to areas further off towards the east. So tomorrow, we still have it that most of the area will have a chance for thunderstorms by the evening, but then on Saturday, similar thing goes. It's right around Charlotte to about Albemarle, but it's not a guarantee for the entire area. So here's a closer look at our futurecast. Here's midnight or noon tomorrow. We see showers starting to move in. So here's the chance. Notice most of it's still west of I-77. So if you have any plans this area, that's going to be a much better chance for some activity, but we'll have some lingering rain heading into the morning. So say if you have anything on Saturday, might be a few showers, but I think that we hit a break. This is the best chance for a little bit of lull from Charlotte down to Rock Hill. That's the early afternoon. Once you get to the middle of the afternoon, that's going to be our best thunderstorm potential. So really starting to see things crank up at this point, and then you might hit another lull a little bit later on in the evening. So not a complete washout, but any outdoor plans, if there is thunder and lightning, you'll be under the 30-30 rule, where you have to wait 30 minutes until you next or don't hear thunder. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast showing a big drop in temperatures because of that rain and lack of sunshine Saturday and Sunday, but then boom, right back up to the upper 80s, challenging 90 degrees again next Wednesday.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me, because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
Cleanup efforts are still underway at Rock Hill after strong storms swept through that area exactly a week ago, damaging several homes along the way. But community members are joining forces to help each other get back on their feet. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris take a look at those efforts.
Several homeowners in Rock Hill are still left picking up the pieces from those storms that hit this area last week. And many homeowners, they're dealing with home damage here, like you can see, as well as even piles of debris out front of their house. But Saturday, they weren't left to pick those pieces up alone. Hands of all sizes, big and small, pitching in and picking up the pieces from last week's heavy storms.
We just want people to know that there are people that care, there are resources available, and we do want to help.
Jason Weil and the city's Neighborhood Services Department invited several community members in Rock Hill to volunteer their time Saturday and clean up.
And we know that people are hurting right now, and we just wanted to do what we could to help.
The department getting help from Charlotte's Community Tool Bank and offering tools such as rakes, leaf blowers, shovels for volunteers like Pearl Jones.
It takes a lot less time when there's a lot more hands.
Who's pleased to see the community come together in a time of need.
We're still community together, and that was wonderful to see. There were youth, there were children, there were adults, older adults, that we all worked together, and that's all we did. We just all got in and started doing it, and it was great.
Each helpful hand making a big difference for homeowners like Tanya George.
It meant a lot because all week I've been going through emotions because I didn't know how all this was going to work.
It's working now thanks to helpful hands from the community. She's confident to get back to normalcy following the storms.
Just for them to be wanting to do something like that, it says a whole lot that's being distilled in them for them to help people like me.
In Rock Hill, Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
Thanks. Well, we're coming up on 6:10 now, and of course we're asking where's the money once again, this time for homeowners. Good morning and thanks for starting the week with us. Now, we all know that buying a home is historically expensive, but LendingTree is actually taking a new look at the issue this morning. It looked at growing metro areas across the country and put them in a ranked list based on how many new housing units that are being built. Now, the report is based on data between 2020 and 2022. And as you can expect, Charlotte is just about topping the list. So here's the big reveal. Charlotte comes in at number 7 in a list of 50. For context, the top 3 were Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and San Antonio, Texas. The good news is that more construction could help create a more affordable housing market. More homes and less competition are needed to drive down prices. But the catch-22 is that newly constructed homes tend to be pricier than older housing. More contemporary styles, those costly finishes, those all drive up the price. And builders might need to charge extra to offset the cost of labor and material. But here's the hope. As more new housing pops up, supply just might outpace demand, which could make entering the housing market easier for those who aren't necessarily well off. Ben?
All right, Kia, thanks.
WCNC Charlotte.
Good morning, Carolinas.
Tune in to the team that's preparing you for your day.
The one and only Larry Sprinkle.
See the difference in your morning.
It is bitter cold just about anywhere you look.
Here's a look right here at I-77 northbound.
Trying to make your dollar stretch a little bit further.
Responsible reporting, community-focused, unique content.
It's so good to see you.
Oh, y'all are having too much fun.
See the difference. Weekday mornings on WCNC Charlotte.
Has been an emotional 24 hours for many people in the community.
Yeah, WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood spoke to community members working to support law enforcement after this tragedy. She joins us live from outside CMPD headquarters. Hey, Kaylin.
Hey, Nick, Jane. Yeah, so many folks coming to offer their support, offer prayers, flowers, anything they can to really support officers after this tragedy. The Billy Graham Mobile Ministry Center here behind me set up to be a center for prayer in case it's needed by any of the officers, and many of them have come up to this vehicle. And I'll tell you something unique about it. It's actually being manned by all former law enforcement working to act as a support in what is going to be a long road to healing ahead.
One day after an attempted arrest in East Charlotte turned into a deadly shootout, law enforcement in the community looked to heal.
It's just been very tough. And knowing that you have families that are hurting right now.
From flowers to acts of faith, the community rallying in support of the families of the 4 officers killed in the line of duty.
Officers get up in the every morning, and their plan is to go home at night. And like we saw yesterday, 4 officers didn't go home.
Among those offering prayer is Richard Brown. He spent more than 20 years as a policeman in Wake Forest. Now he joins other retired officers serving in a new way, through Billy Graham's Rapid Response Team.
And we've just been here to talk to officers as they come by and offer support, prayer, comfort, and listen to some of their stories.
Needed support, investigators say, as they look toward a long road ahead.
The healing is going to be long, it's going to be tough, but I think if we stay together, we can get through this.
Yeah. And not only law enforcement officers, but just folks in the community, everyone taking in those very challenging images and having to sort of figure out how to cope with that emotionally. We're coming up at 5:30. We're going to hear from some mental health advocates on some strategies that you can take to just sort of cope with what we've all been seeing. Reporting live here in Uptown, Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
So much to process still.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kaylin.
Last time officers were shot and killed in Charlotte was 2007, when officers Jeff Shelton and Sean Clark were gunned down in the parking lot of Timber Ridge Apartments, about a mile from Monday's incident.
Before that, it was 1993 when officers John Burnett and Andy Nobles were shot and killed in West Charlotte. And of course, Monday's ambush is bringing up raw emotions for the loved ones of these officers.
That's right. WCNC Charlotte's anchor Sarah French sat down with the sister of Officer Burnett about how decades later she's continuing her brother's legacy.
But you never get through it. You never get through it.
It's been 30 years since Kim Dellinger's brother, CMPD officer John Burnett, was killed in the line of duty.
And he decided he wanted to try to be a police officer because he wanted to help people.
Officer Burnett and Officer Andy Nobles were two of the first community policing officers in the city. They were killed in October of 1993 chasing a car theft suspect. Both officers were shot and killed.
And the news clipping came through. I knew in my gut. I knew that was my brother.
They were the first two CMPD officers shot and killed at the same time in the line of duty. Sadly, they wouldn't be the last. Kim says she's been watching the coverage of the recent 4 officers shot and killed in East Charlotte.
What was that like for you when you saw the news of the officers?
For one, it brings back the trauma of what we went through. But mostly, I feel for the families.
What would you like to say to the families since you've been in their shoes?
They've been on my heart and in my prayers. Y'all have a long road ahead of you, but you will make it.
Kim says one thing has sustained her through it all.
God, I pray. It's hard because you have to think of how they lost their life. Yes, they were protecting and serving us. You know, they were doing a good thing. Oh yeah, I think about him every day. Every day. I have 3 children, I have 7 grandsons, and every one of them know the story about John. They know about the police officers. We've kept his memory alive.
For WCNC Charlotte, I'm Sarah French.
Wake up to the news that matters most with meteorologist and traffic reporter Chris Mulcahy.
And we're all clear. We're keeping you smarter, safer, and on time.
Start your day the Mulcahy way. See the difference. 4:30 to 7 on WCNC Charlotte.
Scams involving cryptocurrency are fooling even the highest government officials, leaving them asking, where's the money?
Yeah, even one of those complex scams duped a financial advisor here in the Carolinas.
That's right. WCNC Charlotte's Kia Murray sat down with her and the group working to get her money back.
I mean, here I was in the fight of my life, and I was in the fight of my life's security.
It was a fight Angela Sloan didn't expect.
And asked for any personal information, I let my guard down.
A few months ago, Sloan found out that she was the victim of a scam, all while she was battling cancer. What started as Facebook conversations about cryptocurrency led Sloan to invest hundreds into the digital platform. What she didn't know was the platform she was trading on was fake.
What moved from the trading platform back into my account were counterfeit coins. I didn't know there was such a thing as counterfeit coins.
The value of the investment that Sloan lost is now estimated to be nearly $2 million. Scams like the one she fell victim to are getting more difficult to navigate as technology develops. A United Nations report says the growth of cryptocurrency exchanges and even online gambling platforms are actually becoming vessels for high crimes like money laundering. And just last year, according to Forbes, even federal agencies are being duped by these complex crypto scams.
We're analyzing crypto transactions in blockchain analysis. We're looking at organized crime.
That's just part of the work Betalel Raviv is focused on as co-founder of Lionsgate Network. The firm tracks and attempts to recover stolen cryptocurrency funds, and it's reportedly been successful in identifying and intercepting those crypto accounts. But yet another layer to an already complicated issue is finding partnerships.
It's our greatest pain. We want to find better conversations with the FBI, with police, with Homeland Security, and we're seeing that light and that solution coming to fruition now more than ever.
Now, the problem here is that we have yet to see widespread solutions. Raviv there says firms like his own are trying to work with law enforcement. Meanwhile, law enforcement has its own limitations on trying to break down these scams, catch the people responsible, and get people's money back. I'm Kia Murray, WCNC Charlotte.
Tonight on our streaming app, WCNC Plus, we talk to financial advisors sharing other scams that crooks use to steal your money and what you can do to try and protect yourself.
Yeah, if you scan this QR code right now at the top corner of your screen, that will take you where you can watch and check out our latest Your Money episode. That will air at 8 p.m. on your favorite streaming device.
We are now into the heart of tornado season in the Carolinas. April and May are responsible for about a third of all of our tornadoes. And meteorologist Chris Mulcahy focuses on North Carolina and its tornado history in this week's Weather IQ.
North Carolina is no stranger to tornadoes, seeing nearly 1,500 since 1950. So let's raise your weather IQ on the most epic and historic NC tornadoes. Before we get started, we need some background information. Tornadoes are measured by the enhanced Fugitive scale, ranging from EF0 to EF5. This enhanced scale is designed to relate types of damage more easily with wind speeds and intensities. This enhanced scale came about in 2007, so all dates before this are just the Fugitive scale listed as F0 to F5. North Carolina has 12 F4 tornadoes on record, but no EF4 since 2007. The old Fugitive scale didn't estimate exact wind speeds like we do today, so for the tiebreaker, let's use path length. The longest track, F4, was on the ground for 83 miles, with winds likely ranging over 165 miles per hour. November 23, 1992 was the third day of a historic multi-state tornado outbreak, but the tornado that touched down in Harnett County, just south of Raleigh, tracked northeastward for 160 miles all the way to Elizabeth City. One of the most famous days in North Carolina tornado history was March 28, 1984. This outbreak had 14 tornadoes confirmed that day, and 2 of those were the widest on record, both over a mile. This F4 in Scotland, Robeson, and Cumberland County had a width of over 2,600 yards. That's 1.5 miles. The most famous North Carolina tornado outbreak was associated with another multi-day system. April 16, 2011, dropped 32 tornadoes across North Carolina. On average, over the last 30 years, North Carolina averages 30 tornadoes. So we always need to be weather aware, especially during the months of April and May. I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy with WCNC Charlotte. Quite the history there.
Yeah. That March 1984 outbreak was amazing. It was in radio in those days, and we had one of our reporters go down. Couldn't believe the devastation. That was all eastern North Carolina, well east of us.
What's interesting is all of our F4s, most of those happened during that year, during that one outbreak. Exactly. So it really was one of the greatest outbreaks in history, but then 2011 more recently is the most we've ever seen in a given day, but then also April 2011 was the most active month that we've had in North Carolina history.
And once again, it doesn't have to be a tornado. We saw what happened in Rock Hill, South Carolina over the weekend. That was a macro burst, not a macro burst. That's a much wider area, over 2.6 miles of territory that covered. So even severe storms can cause a lot of damage.
When it comes to WCNC's chief meteorologist Brad Panovich, our viewers tell the whole story.
Hey, if you're new to the area, this meteorologist is awesome.
I always stick with Brad Panovich when it comes to severe weather. He's rarely wrong.
You should follow Brad if you don't already. He's usually right on the money with his forecast.
I don't look at anything else besides what Brad says. We are fortunate to have him here.
Brad Panovich, experience the difference with WCNC Charlotte weather.
Hey, Hey, speaking of our furry friends, a viral Instagram video claims that you can actually write off your pets on your taxes. But is that really true? WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg verifies.
Well, we all know pups are basically many people's children, and just like children, they can get pretty expensive. But can you get some tax breaks off them? A viewer sent us an Instagram post that claims you can and wanted us to verify.
Our source is Mark Siebert, tax pro with Jackson Hewitt Tax Services, TurboTax, and the American Pet Products Association, or APPA. According to APPA, in 2023, Americans spent $109 billion on pets, pet services, and pet products. Unfortunately, Stieber sent us this statement saying, quote, the average taxpayer can't claim their pet as a dependent or deduct monthly costs of owning a pet. However, there are some exceptions. According to TurboTax, if you have a service animal, you may be eligible for a tax write-off because your pet is providing a medical service. You can write off any medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. Stieber says if you are self-employed and you have a guard dog or use cats to keep mice away, you may also be able to deduct some of the costs associated with caring for them. TurboTax states performance animals may also qualify for a deduction if they perform in a way that earns you income. For example, pets that work on movie sets, pet influencers, or competes in events that offer a cash prize. So we can verify that no, the average pet owner won't qualify for tax deductions on their pets. However, there are some exceptions. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@wcnc.com.
When did you know what you wanted to be?
Hey, Mom, the weather's on!
WCNC Charlotte's chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, always knew what he was meant to do.
All right, don't forget your umbrella.
In fact, he joined the American Meteorological Society when he was 13. Now Brad is all grown up. You can see him right here on WCNC Charlotte, making sure you're informed and safe.
Hey, where did all my hair go?
Experience the difference.
Forecast, why don't we? Live pictures right now over I-77 at 277 John Velk Freeway. Both of them right there. Background of gorgeous uptown skyline. Chris joins us right now with a look at what is a very nice but kind of steamy Thursday.
Yeah, we're definitely feeling the difference, almost like it's June, 88 degrees. Whoo! By the way, we should be in the mid to the upper 70s typically this time of year, even to begin the month of May, where the 80s flourished 9 times through the month of April, 77 for a high right around Boone. Now, we are looking at a mostly clear day, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to develop a few of those fair weather cumulus clouds. We're already starting to see that here in Union County, but still a sunny day nonetheless. The warmest days of 2024, it was back on the 18th of April that we hit 89 degrees, and then we had back-to-back days at 88. So it's been tough to get to that mark, but I have a high of 88 for today and then 86 on Friday. This could be outdone by a degree, so I don't think we're going to hit that 90-degree point yet. However, we'll see temperatures come down a little bit where there will be some rain this weekend, but 90 degrees is possible a week from today, and that would still be ahead of schedule. On average, we usually hit 90 for the first time in Charlotte May 20th, and that's dating back to 1878 worth of records, and that would also be much earlier than we have had over the last 5 years. The earliest we've otherwise had is May 18th. Hour by hour forecast. Mid 80s to the upper 80s throughout the afternoon. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to be seeing a big difference here. We're seeing a slight chance for a little bit of rain. I would say late day heading into the evening. You're also going to see more clouds for tomorrow. That's also going to suppress our temperatures, where our rainfall chances really crank up for Saturday and for Sunday, lingering on Monday. This is not great news because we know there's a lot going on. There's a big concert in Charlotte. There's the Strawberry Festival. There's multiple baseball games across the area, where in the meantime, we're sitting pretty. For the first half of tomorrow, I don't think you're looking at any rain. By the time you get to about the 2 o'clock hour, we might see a spotty shower, but I really don't think it's until after 7 o'clock we could have a few showers. But one thing you're going to notice, it's really west of I-77 that has more concentration of activity compared to areas further off towards the east. So tomorrow, we still have it that most of the area will have a chance for thunderstorms by the evening, but then on Saturday, similar thing goes. It's right around Charlotte to about Albemarle, but it's not a guarantee for the entire entire area. So here's a closer look at our futurecast. Here's midnight or noon tomorrow. We see showers starting to move in. So here's the chance. Notice most of it's still west of I-77. So if you have any plans this area, that's going to be a much better chance for some activity, but we'll have some lingering rain heading into the morning. So say if you have anything on Saturday, might be a few showers, but I think that we hit a break. This is the best chance for a little bit of lull from Charlotte down to Rock Hill. That's the early afternoon. Once you get to the middle of the afternoon, that's going to be our best thunderstorm potential. So really starting to see things crank up at this point, and then you might hit another lull a little bit later on in the evening. So not a complete washout, but any outdoor plans, if there is thunder and lightning, you'll be under the 30-30 rule, where you have to wait 30 minutes until you next or don't hear thunder. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast showing a big drop in temperatures because of that rain and lack of sunshine Saturday and Sunday, but then boom, right back up to the upper 80s, challenging 90 degrees again next Wednesday.
Welcome back to Flashpoint. Republican governors in southern states slamming the United Auto Workers' push to organize automotive factories. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster among those saying unions could lead to layoffs and fewer investments. An industry with $27 billion economic impact in the Palmetto State. Joining us now is Professor Stephen Sylvia with American University in Washington, D.C. He's also the author of the UAW's Southern Gamble, Organizing Workers at Foreign-Owned Vehicle Plants. Professor, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to be here.
So explain to us, why is this movement to unionize Southern auto factories, why is it happening now?
Well, it started a long time ago, actually, that you can go back to the beginning of this century with organizing jobs, even preceding that. It started back then because the foreign plants started arriving in the South. There was a big effort about, in the 2010s, and that was unsuccessful. The reason why the latest effort is happening is largely because of the success that the UAW had with its strike last year against General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis.
And explain to us, how does it play into the fact that both Carolinas are right-to-work states, many of the southern states are right-to-work states? How does that, and basically for those who don't know, that means that can't force a worker to join a union. How does that factor into this calculus?
As far as organizing, it really doesn't. It's more of a symbolic statement that the state governments have expressed an opinion on making it harder for unions once they're in place. But as far as the organizing drive, being right to work doesn't really affect the drive. In some ways, it makes it a little easier for the union, because the union can claim, well, even if we win, you don't have to be a member. But the drawback for unions is if they win, then they don't collect dues from all the workers. They only collect dues from workers who would like to be members.
This is all part of a big push by the UAW to target 13 automakers. What's the likelihood that you think we could start to actually see more unions popping up in some of the southern states?
Well, one thing that's worth noting is the UAW does have plants that it is organized in southern states. It has organized Ford plants, General Motors plants, and also in the Charlotte area, for example, Freightliner and Thomas Built buses have been organized by the UAW, and those are owned by Daimler. So the UAW has organized foreign-owned truck and bus plants, but it has not organized any car plants. So that would be a breakthrough for the union.
And so more on that, what impact do you think this could actually have on the industry if these unions do take hold here in the South?
Well, from the perspective of the UAW, having a lot of southern plants, none of which are unionized, puts a bit of a damper on their efforts when they negotiate with the domestic producers, because Ford and General Motors negotiators say, well, the wages that are paid at Hyundai, at Volkswagen, at Nissan are lower than your contract. So if we're going to be successful in the marketplace, we can't have your wages at our plants drift too far above the wages in those other plants.
And for workers specifically, how does this benefit them, or how does this impact them?
Well, in a couple of ways. One, they would end up with higher wages and benefits. That you can look empirically, and that's the case, that the workers would end up with higher wages and benefits. A second thing, in these plants, there are some long-standing issues that the workers have wanted addressed, and they haven't made a lot of progress on them. In the Chattanooga plant, for example, they've been very concerned with the rules around paid time off, that they're very restrictive, and they would like to have them be a little more flexible. And they've tried for years, they've talked to management, and they haven't succeeded. And so a lot of the people who are supporting unionization in Chattanooga, they're saying, the one thing we really want is to have more flexibility around paid time off. So the union gives them an opportunity, gives them a little more leverage when they're talking to management to make progress in those areas where they haven't succeeded in the past.
The UAW came out and supported President Biden. How much of this do you think, for families or these workers, on the family level or the individual level, how much do you think that labor membership is a political issue rather than just say an issue of what's best for them and their family, or what's best for the companies?
Well, I found particularly in southern states that the workers tend to focus on what's best for them and their company. The political side of things really seems to be secondary.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think geographically it's different, say, in the South than in other places?
That's a good point. I don't think it's all that different in the North, that generally when workers decide to unionize, it's because of what's going on in the plant. It's not because of who's president.
So we talked about, you started talking about how this has been ongoing now for years and years and years, and this is just the newest front. So where do you see this battle going next? Well, the UAW has already filed for a recognition election at the Mercedes plant in Vance, Alabama. So that should take place in a little less than a month, and that's where it would go next. And after that, I think the results will determine what happens. That if the UAW is successful, it will most likely redouble its efforts, and it would have to make a choice on where to focus next. The plants where they've had the most success so far have been, besides the German ones, have been a Toyota plant in Missouri and a Hyundai plant in Georgia. And so it's likely they'll look at those. They'll probably consider perhaps looking at the third German company, BMW, who has the plant in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Yes. Seeing a potential shift of things here in the South. All right, Professor Stephen Sylvia with American University. Professor, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
More Flashpoint after this.
Alrighty, 6:37 now. We're verifying falling gas prices. Good morning and happy Monday. There's a bit of a myth that's circling around, and it impacts our wallets, especially during an election year. It claims that gas prices fall during election seasons, and something it has to do with the president that's in power at the time. So let's verify. The question this morning is in two parts. First, do gas prices go down during the election season, and are presidents responsible? Here's a list of our sources. So we're hearing from Denton C. Sinkangirna. He's the chief oil analyst at the Oil Price Information Service, and we're going to shorten that to OPIS. And then we're also checking in with Money.com. Now, writers at Money start with this. With President Joe Biden running for re-election, he might try to use low gas prices to his advantage closer to November. But Republicans have been attacking President Biden as gas prices actually climbed 60 cents since the start of 2024. The national average, mind you, now sits at $3.67. But Sinkangirna says the price at the pump doesn't have much to do with either party at all. In an interview with Money.com, he gave us two reasons why. First, demand for gas usually declines after Labor Day following the summer driving season. And two, every fall, there's a switch from summer grade to winter grade gasoline. Now, that winter grade fuel tends to be just a bit cheaper. So we can verify that, yes, gas prices do go down during election seasons, but that's because prices dip every fall. And no, presidents and politicians don't have much to do with that drop.
WCNC Charlotte.
Good morning, Carolinas.
Tune in to the team that's preparing you for your day.
We are following two major breaking news stories this morning.
See the difference in your morning.
We can see clear skies out there off in the distance.
Everything is flowing just fine.
We're asking where's the money so you can get ahead in 2024.
Responsible reporting, community-focused, unique content.
Good morning, Savannah.
Hi, Sarah. Great to see you.
See the difference. Weekday mornings on WCNC Charlotte.
Heartbreaking outcome of yesterday's shooting was extremely rare for Charlotte, but sadly gun violence is not.
Many local groups are seeking solutions to the violence, hoping to save lives through prevention and research efforts. WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman spoke with a couple of those groups tonight about what they think can be done.
Police say a wanted felon, 39-year-old Terry Hughes, opened fire on law enforcement officers on Monday from inside this house while they attempted to serve a warrant. The shooting killed 4 officers and injured 5 others.
We need to be thinking about evidence-based solutions to prevent this from ever happening again.
April Alexander leads UNC Charlotte's Violence Prevention Center. It uses research to find evidence-based solutions for violence.
Thinking about how this person had access to the mass amount of ammunition that they had. Is that somewhere where we can intervene with policy?
CMPD says after Hughes was killed, officers found an AR-style rifle, a handgun, and over 100 rounds of ammunition and magazines inside the house. We don't know yet how Hughes obtained the weaponry, but Alexander says the shooting is prompting discussions of red flag laws.
What they do is remove guns from people who are at imminent danger, who've had a history of domestic violence, violent felonies, under a temporary order.
The center hopes to receive funding this fall to research whether red flag laws prevent gun violence.
We have a strong access to illegal guns. We have access to guns in this city and in this state.
Leader of Heal Charlotte, Greg Jackson, says to prevent guns falling into the wrong hands, the key is education.
We give the young people and adults access to positive extracurricular activities. So they don't get involved into the negative activities in the streets.
And intervening at a young age, Jackson says, makes a difference.
Youth violence is up, so we need to have more of an attention on youth.
The Violence Prevention Center is also working to study the impacts of gun lock campaigns in our area and how schools can educate students on healthy relationships to prevent future trauma.
That research is so important, right? Lots of folks have ideas, and then you got to test, right, if it's working.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Good story as well, Julia.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chief, for the time. We really appreciate it. And once again, just wanted to extend our condolences for your department's loss.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just wanted to know, how are you doing, actually?
I mean, it's tough. You know, there are good times and bad times to it, but you know, it's pretty easy to get through when you have the support and you have the men and women that we have in our agency have just been phenomenal throughout this whole thing, and to see them step up and take care of each other is just it's refreshing to me, and that's why I get up every day and do this.
And speaking of the department, how are they handling things right now?
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. I'm not going to sit and say, oh, everything's fine, but I've seen a lot of our officers that have stepped up to the plate and said, we're going to help you cover this division, we're going to put in the extra time, we're going to go out and still protect and serve our community. I've had higher ranks going in to serve as lower ranks to cover for different shifts, and that's the kind of thing that defines who we are, and that I always say that when we talk about being a family, that's a true example of us being a family these past few days.
Speaking of family, have you spoken with Officer Ayer's family recently? And if so, how are they handling things right now?
I spoke to them at the hospital, and I'll be going to speak with them again today, and I'll speak with them again tomorrow. But you know, there's no words that you can say that makes this better. Just offer that support, offer that condolence that we've been making sure that they have everything they need. But at the same time, you know, we know the pain, we feel the pain on our end, but it's tenfold on their end.
Yeah. I think about it, it wasn't too long ago we had another officer who we lost and another officer we had to have the procession and the funeral for, Mia Goodwin. I know much different circumstances, but I mean, that's not that there's any appropriate length of time to suffer a loss like that, but that's still fresh, I feel like, for so many folks. And how do you message that to your officers right now to keep their morale going?
I mean, it's difficult. You know, Mia was in their neighboring division up in University City Division who had a big response to that scene Monday. And, but yeah, when these things happen, all of that comes to surface. You know, I've been here 32 years. I was a rookie young officer when I remember John Burnett and Andy Nobles getting killed, and I responded to that scene. I remember Jeff Shelton and Sean Clark, Fred Thornton. All of that comes back to haunt you when you have something like this happen and you realize that the difficulties in this profession, and that it truly is a profession that you're putting your life on the line to help protect and serve others.
We had dug into some data through our investigative team looking at, I mean, in specific, the FOP report that talked about officers being shot in the line of duty and how that reached an all-time high last year. What do you think is behind this growing danger for your men and women?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. There's a lot of theories on why this happens. What I can tell you is that you have a lot of people who are out there just simply trying to do their job to serve our community, and then they're met with gunfire, and there are even ambushes that we've seen across the country that is devastating to see that. And you know, we've had some bad publicity, so to speak, in the last 4 years or so, what I want to make sure is that when we have what we saw Monday was truly a heroic event, that we saw our officers running into the gunfire to protect and serve and to save others that were down. And as they saw their own peers going down, they continued to move forward and protect them. And I want to make sure that people know that that's the type of people that we have serving our community. That's what we should be defined by when we see these acts of heroism, these things that we are out there saving people and working to keep our community safe. But it's been difficult to sit and look across the country that officers that have been targeted and have been met with force and violence in the act of doing their jobs. And we just have to keep hopefully figuring out better ways to make these apprehensions and to make sure that we're continuing to keep ourselves safe. But also on a mental health end, we have to also make sure that we're doing okay mentally so that we can serve our community.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was just a couple of weeks ago that you all were celebrating a milestone in your recruiting. And I guess, do you feel like a situation like this helps or hurts when you try to get more folks on the force?
I honestly think it helps. I think people see the response that we have. People see that how honorable our profession is, that they want to be a part of that. When things like this happen in the face of tragedy, we step up. And anybody who wants to be a part of that is going to see that and say, that's the team that I want to be on. I certainly would. I mean, if I wasn't already in the profession, I would be looking and saying, that's what I want to be a part of. And to be able to serve your community, to be able to join a family like we have in here within our department, and also the family from across the country. I can't tell you how many text messages, emails, phone calls from law enforcement all the way up from directors to officers that have reached out just to offer their condolences and to say, you know, we got you, we're here if you need anything. And that means a great deal, even from the President of the United States to an officer in California or somewhere. They've reached out to make sure that we are doing okay over here.
Speaking of support, I did want to ask, just because I feel like your department has obviously gone through something that's so traumatic. You probably have your officers feeling physically, emotionally, mentally drained. You have large events coming up where everyone is going to have to be on their toes. How do you supplement these exhausted officers? Are you getting help from other agencies, and how do you kind of rally to make sure that the public is still being kept safe?
Certainly. Other agencies have been phenomenal, whether it's the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office, Pineville Police Department, other agencies surrounding us, North Carolina Highway Patrol. All of them have been just tremendous in making sure that we have everything that we need to still continue to answer our calls for service. You know, we're a large agency. We're you know, the size of our agency, we're fortunate to be able to have the resources, but in times like this, you do need to accept that help when it's offered. We haven't had to ask for anything. Everything's been brought to us and said, hey, we're here to give you this. We're here to send officers and to support what you are trying to do. So these large events, I'm not concerned that we're going to have a lot of great men and women that are going to step up to the plate and make sure that we cover it and make sure that the safety and security of these events is locked in, and we're going to continue to do our jobs. And you know, I met with some of our officers today, and I said, you all are, despite what happened, all of this that's going on, the dangers that you see that we have to face, you're still here. You're still putting that uniform on, and you're still going to work, and you're still doing your job. And the community should really wrap their arms around that, embrace it, because that's the type of people that are serving them in Charlotte-Mecklenburg.
I wanted to talk a bit about Officer Iyer. Obviously, we've talked about him being Officer of the Month. Not very long ago, he received that award. What made him so exceptional?
Yeah, Officer Iyer was an officer that the way he treated the community members, the people that he came in contact with, the way he treated his peers, and his response to the community. You know, his recognition was because of keeping our community safe by taking illegal firearms off the streets. Things that he didn't have to be involved in, he was getting involved in. Just like we saw Monday with him. He could have taken a perimeter position. He could have done anything that did not put him in the line of fire, but he was one of the ones that went straight in and did not hesitate. And for that, he's truly a hero. And you know, as he went down, his brothers and sisters helped him and pulled him out. So it's one of the things that, hey, if I'm in the line of fire, I would have taken any of those guys with me, and that's what it's all about.
Now, you mentioned you were able to speak with Officer Iyer's family at the hospital. Yes. From our understanding, he was in critical condition by the time he arrived there. Were you able to speak with him at all?
No. He was in surgery the entire time, and there was no communication with him. So.
If you could have spoken with him, what would you have told him?
I would have thanked him. I would have thanked him for doing his job. I would have thanked him for going above and beyond. And I would have told him how much I appreciate him.
And what would you tell him about how his family will be taken care of going forward?
Just not to worry. And, you know, in short terms, just tell him we got this. You know, we're going to take care of your family. You don't need to worry about that. So.
If we could talk a bit about Terry Hughes Jr., the suspect, just because we've been diving into his background. And it seems like he has quite a lengthy record, and some of it is concerning in the sense when you consider some of these are firearm-related arrests or charges, facts that, you know, he, on a couple of occasions, apparently led law enforcement on high-speed chases, and somehow was still out in the community. How does that strike you as far as how that's able to happen and get to the point that it did Monday?
You know, he doesn't deserve a space in my concerns. You know, of course, any loss of life is tragic, and I feel for that. But at the same time, he decided he was going to take the life of as many officers as he could before he went down himself. Now, what I will tell you is there are hundreds of Terry Hughes out there that have these extensive records. Not that it would result in this, but there are a lot of people that have these extensive records that are out in our community. So he's not some anomaly that I can sit and say he shouldn't have been out of jail. Look at what his charges were. He did spend some time in jail. You know, unfortunately, he wasn't rehabilitated. So when he came out, he continued a life of crime, and that's unfortunate. If there's something that I could take it back in time and rewind and get him on a better path, I would be happy to do that. We talk to many people who have gone down that path of a life of crime and are very productive citizens in our community right now and are helping others. I talked to one yesterday after the press conference. He said he was convicted and spent time in jail, and his mission now is to help young people get on the right path. That's what we need, and that's what we need in our community. That just because someone does a bad thing and they do their time and they are held accountable for that, doesn't mean that they're lost forever. And so I want to make sure that, you know, whatever we're doing in this process of the criminal justice system, if that means incarceration, if that means fines, if that means probation, that at the end of it all, on the backside of that, that those individuals are being productive community members and not continuing down that path.
So potentially, if there would be any sort of reforms, just following up in more depth, or would you, I guess, what would you say as far as what could be a potential reform here?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, you can't save everyone. So you have to want to be saved in order to be saved too. But how do you get that in the mindset of these individuals that decide that they want to lead a life of crime? How do you get that mindset to say there's something else out there, there's alternatives, there's other things that you can do? You know, all you can do is try. And if you reach one person, if you reach 100 people, what that means is there are many people that may not be victimized by those individuals anymore.
Now, you said something in one of the most recent press briefings that was pretty troubling to hear, as far as what was found inside the home, semi-automatic weapon, I believe it was a .40 caliber firearm, as well as more than 100 rounds of ammunition magazines. That's troubling to hear.
Yeah.
And where might he have gotten that?
That's a good question. It's going to be part of the investigation. That at the end of the day, we will determine where that weapon came from, or both of those weapons came from, and then we will determine how it fell into the hands of a convicted felon. And so that's very concerning to us, but it's not unusual. We have a lot of people who are convicted felons that still have access to weapons, and getting access to a weapon is not difficult in this country. With per capita, we're the highest rating, highest per capita guns to human ratio in the entire world. And so when you start looking at situations like that or circumstances like that, then the accessibility to these firearms is not very difficult. You have kids that are able to get guns with no issues at all.
I mean, as far as the semi-automatic weapon, obviously there's a larger discussion at play about whether folks should even have access to these types of weapons. How difficult does it make your job knowing that some of these weapons can be out on the streets?
I mean, it does. It's not for me to decide on the either these weapons, semi-automatic weapons and high-powered firearms and things like that, because until you eliminate them and say they don't exist anymore, they're going to be in the hands of the bad guys, the people that want to use them in criminal activity, that want to hurt others with them. We can, again, we have the laws on the books that if you're a convicted felon, you cannot possess a firearm, yet this individual still possessed a firearm. So how do you combat that, where the people who abide by the law and are doing things they're doing things on a legal matter, do you hurt those individuals who want to exercise their Second Amendment right and on legal terms, as opposed to those who want to use those firearms in commission of crimes?
I wanted to talk a bit more about the operation, just because We have received some questions from the community, and mostly at the heart of these questions is just a desire to maybe just understand the process, how an operation like this works. And so some of these might feel very specific, but once again, these are coming from the public. I guess there was a question about why the task force might have chose that time of day to go to that home and serve that warrant versus maybe going at night. What can you speak to as far as that goes?
Well, I mean, there is no good time. Why not? I mean, the U.S. Marshals Task Forces across the country serves thousands of warrants every single year. CMPD serves a great deal of warrants every single year. When you have a task force that is going out to serve warrants, there's a method to why they serve the warrants when they do too. They do intelligence work to see when an individual, where that individual might be and when might that individual be there. I'm not privy to what that intel was on this case, but it could very well be that they said, hey, this time of the day, this is when he's usually at that house. And this is an opportune time to go and arrest that individual. Or they could have gotten information at the time when they've been looking for him and say, he's here right now. And that could have led to them going there. So, you know, I'm not going to ever Monday morning quarterback this. There's nothing to Monday morning quarterback. You know, all the other warrants that we serve throughout the year, it doesn't result in this, right? So most of the time, people come peacefully, and you knock on the door, and you find whoever you're looking for there, and there's no issues, no concerns. So something like this in my 32-year career, I've never seen anything like this. So there's no reason to second guess the actions of the officers. I think they did everything appropriately. And the things that I've seen at this point, you know, I commend them for even going out to say we need to get this person off the streets because he's a felon and he's in possession of a firearm. So we're going to take actions to take him off the streets.
I know that as the days go on, you probably learn a little bit more about the timeline of how things played out. At this hour, what is your understanding of the chain of events? Has that changed?
Still ironing through a lot. There are some things that have been cleared up for me, and you know, you can imagine how chaotic it was out on the scene and trying to gather information. You want to just make sure everybody's doing their job, and you want to be able to put as much information out as you possibly can to fill those gaps, because I know the public does want to know what's going on, and sometimes you have to look at things that you might have seen or heard on the scene that might look differently once you look at the body-worn camera footage and once you look at surveillance footage, once you basically timeline everything out. Yeah, so there's a few things. You know, we told you we released the firearms that we found in the house. Originally, I wasn't ready to even say that we found a firearm, period, even though we knew there would be one at some point. And then at the same time, you have to be able to go in, process the scene, which is the house, and we don't know what we're going to find when we go in and look in the house. There could have been additional weapons in there. So at this point, we're able to say that we did confiscate 2 firearms, one AR-15 and then the .40 caliber handgun. So.
And to your knowledge, was it a situation where these officers with the task force went to the door, knocked on the door, received fire?
I don't know that for sure. I know they received fire before they got to the door. So
that sounds like an ambush.
You know the definition of an ambush. Definitely, this individual he did everything but lure them to his house, but or to the house. Don't even know if it's his house, but he did everything but lure them to the house. But as they approached, he did the officers did begin to take fire. So. Any
idea whether he knew they were coming?
I think he saw them when they got there. Don't know if he knew they were coming. Let's do 2 more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There have been questions about whether infrared would be used in a situation like this to see if there's someone in the home, how many people. Do you know if that was used?
No, again, this is something, like I mentioned, they're going to pick someone up to arrest him for a warrant that individual has. It's very simple. You would think that you're going to go to that person's house, that person's going to cooperate, and he's going to go and be accountable for the crime that he committed. And that's not what happened this time, but that's what happens 99.9% of the time, probably even greater than that. So it's just unfortunate that these officers, in doing their job, doing what they're supposed to do, had to be faced with deadly force in this situation.
As a leader of this department, what keeps you up at night most about this situation?
About this situation, or just keeps me up at night?
Maybe just in general.
This has always been the thing that keeps me up at night, the safety of our people who are out doing this job. And I know that they are put in some very difficult situations. They have to be all things to all people a lot of times, and they're scrutinized to no end, so they have to be held at a higher standard as well. And I don't know how many other professions wear a body-worn camera their entire shift except to go to the bathroom. And so everything that they looked at that they do, and everything that they say is monitored and on camera. And so that's a very that's something that is the demands on what they have to do is at a higher level than in most professions, if not all professions. So I want to make sure that they're okay, and when I go to bed at night, and when I wake up in the middle of the night, and I think that my first thoughts is that we remain safe and that we keep our community safe. So.
The heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
When I think about the community, I think about the time that I've been here. I've been in this community almost my entire adult life. So you get to know the people. When you know what they care about, then that's what you care about. This community looks at all of us who do weather here at WCNC Charlotte as part of their family. And when you're part of their family, you want to make sure you do it just for them.
All right, speaking of airport fees, you may have noticed that baggage fees in particular are going up on just about every airline. And if you want to avoid paying big money, you'll need to plan ahead.
Checking your bags is getting more expensive than ever and leaving travelers blindsided. Let's connect the dots. On pretty much every major airline, checking a bag will cost you at least $35, with a second bag adding another $45. Some budget airlines are even charging for carry-ons now. It's all part of a trend as airlines unbundle different elements of your flights. You no longer get meals on most flights, and you must pay more to pick a particular seat. Airlines argue it allows you to pick what you want to pay for, but critics say those extra fees end up surprising a lot of people when they check out. So what can you do? Pay for your bags early. If you wait, you'll more likely pay more. And you should also check your status, since most airlines waive those bag fees for their frequent flyers. And that is connecting the dots.
Folks new to the restaurant biz are getting a boost thanks to a new approach to the shared kitchen concept.
City Kitch offers chefs space to work, and they just added a front lobby that's driving up sales big time. WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden shows us how this culinary gamble is paying off.
Now diners can actually come inside, they can place the order right here on the monitors, and they can eat here. All of that translates to even bigger business for the restaurateurs.
We took a gamble and thought that we'd be able to build our business there and then expand in the future.
Tim Barnes is the owner of Queen City Cheesesteaks. The family-run company just celebrated a year in business cooking out of one of the kitchens at City Kitch, a so-called ghost kitchen.
So for us, what we do is we lower the initial cost of capital required to work on a food business by providing access to our shared kitchen.
When you're renting space versus having a big walk-in cooler, you have to get smaller quantities. And so to get those smaller quantities at a discount through places like Cisco or some of the other partnerships that we have available through City Kitch, it really helps keep the costs low and food costs specifically.
20 food operations currently work out of the Wesley Heights City Kitch.
When you think about ghost kitchen, you think about anonymity, who's producing your food, what the offering is. We don't want that. We want to bring our chefs, which are local businesses, as close to the folks that want to support them as possible.
So they just started something new, expanding the front lobby so customers can dine in and adding these kiosks so diners can now place in-person orders rather than just online. And already the chefs say they're reaping the benefits with business up 50 to 60%.
So that's helped out tremendously with the renovations to the lobby. A big lift, absolutely.
And he says there's been another unexpected bonus from working side by side with like-minded chefs.
For sure, it was a critical part of our success. And a lot of the relationships that we built over time here with some of the other chefs have helped us kind of figure out some of the things that you don't really know when you start a business. And so being in a community where there's several other concepts, you start to learn and be able to craft your menu and hone your skills as a chef.
As a businessman and a chef.
And there we go.
In Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
Hey YouTube, this is Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here at WCNC Charlotte. We want you to head over to our Weather IQ YouTube page, where we're making you smarter and safer. We have a passion for weather science, and we want you to understand what's happening when the weather changes, because in the end, that's what keeps you safe. It's not about being scared, it's about being informed. Browse our collection of fun and informative clips and look for new segments every week. We're here to raise your weather IQ. Experience the difference on WCNC Charlotte.
Forecast, why don't we? Live pictures right now over I-77 at 277 John Belk Freeway. Both of them right there. Background of gorgeous uptown skyline. Chris joins us right now with a look at what is a very nice but kind of steamy Thursday.
Yeah, we're definitely feeling the difference, almost like it's June, 88 degrees. Whoo! By the way, we should be in the mid to the upper 70s typically this time of year, even to begin the month of May, where the 80s flourished 9 times through the month of April. 77 for a high right around Boone. Now, we are looking at a mostly clear day, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to develop a few of those fair weather cumulus clouds. We're already starting to see that here in Union County, but still a sunny day nonetheless. The warmest days of 2024, it was back on the 18th of April that we hit 89 degrees. Then we had back-to-back days at 88. So it's been tough to get to that mark, but I have a high of 88 for today and then 86 on Friday. This could be outdone by a degree, so I don't think we're going to hit that 90-degree point yet. However, we'll see temperatures come down a little bit where there will be some rain this weekend, but 90 degrees is possible a week from today, and that would still be ahead of schedule. On average, we usually hit 90 for the first time in Charlotte May 20th, and that's dating back to 1878 worth of records, and that would also be much earlier than we have had over the last 5 years. The earliest we've otherwise had is May 18th. Hour by hour forecast. Mid 80s to the upper 80s throughout the afternoon. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to be seeing a big difference here. We're seeing a slight chance for a little bit of rain. I would say late day heading into the evening. You're also going to see more clouds for tomorrow. That's also going to suppress our temperatures, where our rainfall chances really crank up for Saturday and for Sunday, lingering on Monday. This is not great news because we know there's a lot going on. There's a big concert in Charlotte. There's a Strawberry Festival. There's multiple baseball games across the area, where in the meantime, we're sitting pretty. For the first half of tomorrow, I don't think you're looking at any rain. By the time you get to about the 2 o'clock hour, we might see a spotty shower, but I really don't think it's until after 7 o'clock we could have a few showers. But one thing you're going to notice, it's really west of I-77 that has more concentration of activity compared to areas further off towards the east. So tomorrow, we still have it that most of the area will have a chance for thunderstorms by the evening, but then on Saturday, similar thing goes. It's right around Charlotte to about Albemarle, but it's not a guarantee for the entire area. So here's a closer look at our futurecast. Here's midnight or noon tomorrow. We see showers starting to move in. So here's the chance. Notice most of it's still west of I-77. So if you have any plans this area, that's going to be a much better chance for some activity, but we'll have some lingering rain heading into the morning. So say if you have anything on Saturday, might be a few showers, but I think that we hit a break. This is the best chance for a little bit of lull from Charlotte down to Rock Hill. That's the early afternoon. Once you get to the middle of the afternoon, That's going to be our best thunderstorm potential. So really starting to see things crank up at this point, and then you might hit another lull a little bit later on in the evening. So not a complete washout, but any outdoor plans, if there's thunder and lightning, you'll be under the 30-30 rule, where you have to wait 30 minutes until you next or don't hear thunder. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast showing a big drop in temperatures because of that rain and lack of sunshine Saturday and Sunday, but then boom, right back up to the upper 80s, challenging 90 degrees again next Wednesday.
Well, a visit to paradise turned into a nightmare for yet another U.S. tourist visiting Turks and Caicos. 3 Americans could face up to 12 years behind bars for carrying bullets in their bags. NBC's Priya Sridhar reports.
Tonight, a 3rd American tourist has been arrested in 3 months in Turks and Caicos after allegedly bringing ammunition onto the islands, a crime that carries a minimum 12-year sentence.
It was an accident. He does have a concealed carry license. The particular bag he took on the trip had all of his emergency equipment. He's a paramedic.
Tyler Scott Wenrick's wife says authorities found 2 bullets in his suitcase at a security checkpoint while he was on vacation there. He now sits in jail trying to raise bail money.
If we can't get this changed, and it ruins our lives, it ruins my son's life, because he'll grow up without a dad.
Brian Hagrick and Ryan Watson were arrested within months of each other after they both say they accidentally left ammo in their luggage from previous hunting trips. After posting bail, they're now sharing an Airbnb as they wait for their court dates.
The penalty for this crime has a minimum 12-year sentence. Is that something that scares you guys?
Oh my goodness, yeah. When I first heard that, my heart just, it sunk. I had no words.
It's impossible to comprehend.
According to the Turks and Caicos government, 8 American tourists have been arrested since firearm and ammunition laws were tightened in 2022. The State Department warning American travelers.
In a foreign country, U.S. citizens are subject to the country's laws.
65% of Turks and Caicos' economy is based on tourism, the majority of visitors from the U.S. For Wenrick, Hagrick, and Watson, what should have been a dream vacation, now a living nightmare.
Every matter and aspect of our life has just been completely flipped upside down.
Priya Sridhar, NBC News.
It's time to connect the dots and we make the news make sense. Over the past several years, Wall Street went on a massive home buying spree. Last year, 17% of all home sales in Charlotte were made by hedge funds. They can offer cash to sellers, but it denies young families the dream of home ownership.
Lawmakers are looking to crack down on large companies that are gobbling up so many single-family homes. Let's connect the dots. In recent years, investors discovered there's big money in buying starter homes and turning them into rentals. First-time home buyers can't compete with these firms, and it drives up home prices for everyone. Investors say they're simply giving folks the chance to rent in neighborhoods they couldn't afford to buy in. Right now, Republicans and Democrats are taking 2 different approaches. Democrats want a law that would force the companies with a lot of homes to sell to families. Republicans want to tax them so heavily that it drives them out of the housing market. One of the most prominent plans caps rental home ownership at 50 homes for most companies. If it passes, it would put hundreds of thousands of houses back on the market almost immediately. And that's connecting the dots.
At WCNC Charlotte, we believe it is crucial to make a difference in our communities.
That's why we go beyond just reporting the news. We ask, where's the money to hold the powerful accountable and get money back into your pockets?
Our verified team takes claims, finds sources, and gets you answers.
And we're keeping you weather aware, making you safer and smarter.
I'm Vanessa Rufus.
And I'm Colin Mayfield. Join us weeknights at 5, 6, and 11 and see the difference for yourself.
Only on WCNC Charlotte.
You shouldn't give credit to someone and then take it away.
He installed solar panels to try to save money and then help the environment, but then Duke Energy overcharged him for electricity.
We are investigating these issues, coming up with some lessons learned.
This mistake impacts more than a third of Duke's South Carolina solar customers who pay monthly minimum bills. The power company only admitted to the misstep after WCNC Charlotte asked, "Where's the money?"
It took your help to get something done. I thank you very much.
Our Nate Morabito discovered Duke Energy is now pledging to do a better job communicating with its customers in the future.
You can't tell from the street, but solar panels largely power this Lake Wiley home and help Doug Wolf.
This is a Powerwall, Tesla Powerwall. It's a battery for the house.
Store the electricity he captures.
I have solar panels, I have a battery, I have a Tesla, I recycle. I want to help.
He's confident his efforts will pay off in many ways over time. But in the short term, Wolf says he's losing faith in Duke Energy.
It's hard to trust him at this point.
Not just because of billing errors, but also the way in which the utility responded when he raised questions.
I don't have words for how I feel about the walls that Duke Energy has put up between them and their customers.
Duke Energy solar customers who don't use that much electricity are billed a minimum monthly charge of $30. But if they produce more energy than they use, the company's own policy requires them to subtract that credit from the minimum charge. For a few months there, the math just didn't add up. Wolf discovered the issue earlier this year, which is tied to bills from 2023. But when Wolf repeatedly called Duke Energy,
they just kept saying everything's right, not a problem.
He says the utility repeatedly dismissed his concerns.
It was completely frustrating.
So he asked for our help.
We are here to help our customers. It's unfortunate that this customer had this experience, and we apologize for that. And we certainly have some opportunities to improve.
Duke Energy spokesperson Megan Miles told us the utility identified and fixed the error, which impacted about 800 customers in all, long before Wolf noticed it, and made sure to adjust future bills accordingly, but never delivered that message to customers.
Shouldn't it be standard operating policy that if you find a mistake, to communicate that mistake when it happens to the customer?
Yes, certainly. The goal is for our bills to be accurate and to avoid confusion whenever possible.
Miles says Duke Energy routinely runs verification tests on bills for accuracy. Understanding solar rates are complicated. In fact, the utility recently identified another error that impacts an even smaller number of its South Carolina solar customers. Those people will likely receive a small credit and clear communication.
We are reaching out to those customers who were impacted by that.
An area for improvement moving forward.
I'm happy that they finally admitted to their mistakes.
After weeks of keeping Doug Wolf in the dark,
I'm kind of upset that it took this much effort to get them to do it.
Duke Energy has since talked to him directly and overcompensated his account for his trouble. Important steps in restoring the trust.
Check your bills every month.
Of a skeptical customer. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
While the numbers are expected to grow in the future, it is important to note here just a fraction of Duke Energy's millions of customers relying on this specific minimum billing process. So there are roughly 2,500 in both Carolinas, according to the company, that is.
We've said this before, too, and we'll say it again. Your tips and ideas help us do what we do. It was a viewer tip that really had us getting out there and asking questions. And now we have not only answers from Duke Energy, but really a promise of real change going forward.
Yeah, so what can our Where's the Money team do for you? If you have something they should look into, don't hesitate to reach out. You can send an email to money@wcnc.com or reach out to us on our social media platforms.
And in the hours after the news hit, we've seen a memorial growing in uptown Charlotte for those fallen officers.
Lots of people stopping by to drop off flowers and notes and pay their respects. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker joining us live now. And Austin, we've seen the kind words and condolences from the community coming in.
That's certainly right. You know, the community today is just standing hand in hand. We're actually outside of CMPD's North Tri-Island Division, where if you look closely, it's closed, and it says on the sign back there, closed for Joshua Iyer, that CMPD officer who tragically lost his life yesterday in that tragedy. Now, also outside, we're seeing a CMPD patrol car. It's been placed with an American flag over top of it. It has flowers on it. People have been coming by all day today, leaving those flowers, paying their respects, and showing not only CMPD and the officer that has fallen, but also Joshua Iyer's family, that we stand with you. Now, that being said, like you mentioned, both Nick and Jane, there has been memorials growing all across the city. One in Uptown particular that we saw this morning. You can actually see video on your screen. It shows you a marshal paying their respects, grabbing his badge, kneeling on the ground, and just being in that moment and sharing his emotions with us. He tells us that obviously he was distraught and heartbroken about all of this, but it shows you how much these officers are hurting in this moment. Now, again, there has been a lot of outreach from all across the country, specifically right here in North Carolina. North Carolina Back the Blue has created a GoFundMe. Now, that GoFundMe has an ambitious goal of raising $250,000 to help those 4 families of those officers. And right now, less than 24 hours later, they have, in fact, raised more than $50,000 so far. Obviously, the organizers say that money is great, but it's not just about the pennies or the dollars or the money raised. It's about support altogether.
Well, it's important mainly because just like yesterday, they put their lives on the line for us. They leave their house every day and they don't know if they're going to come home. And unfortunately, yesterday that happened. You know, the support, like I said, showing up for the funeral, sending cards, just being there in prayer. And I think that's just one of the biggest things, especially for the department, because right now they're hurting.
Now, that person also tells us that if you see an officer today, they are probably hurting. So shake their hand, give them your condolences, and say, we stand with you, because again, this is such a tragic event. Again, that GoFundMe has raised over $50,000. It's not the only one. There's been separate GoFundMes as well, raising tens of thousands altogether. On your screen right now, there's actually a QR code where you can go and scan that and donate and help out to an officer's family who might be struggling in this point. But, you know, we're going to be covering this all day today, bringing you the latest of how the community is holding each other tight and each other up right now. But for now, we're live in North Charlotte. Austin Walker, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
Now we're asking, where's the money for financial literacy? Good morning and happy Wednesday. So financial literacy just refers to your knowledge about money and about the options you have for saving and investing it. That includes goals like saving for college, preparing for retirement, buying a house, or maybe just paying off some debt. Now, yesterday was the last day of Financial Literacy Month, which is why MarketWatch, a finance website, did a study of their own. The group's researchers found 2 takeaways for us. So first, about 57% of adults in the U.S. are financially literate. And then number 2, over 40% of us are unfamiliar with Roth IRAs, money market accounts, and high-yield savings. On the other side, nearly 70% of Americans are at least familiar with 401ks, but we're not using them. And then a third takeaway actually comes from WalletHub this time. So they made yet another ranked list of the most and least financially literate states. They based this on data showing us how many adults spend more than they earn, their credit scores, and how many folks have savings accounts. Now, based on those areas, North Carolina came in at number 16, but South Carolina is a lot lower at number 39. That's what got us asking this morning, what is your best money-saving tip? Maybe we can help each other save some coins this morning. Text us at 704-329-3600.
Yeah, that's when we make the news make sense. Federal Reserve announced it will continue to keep interest rates high because of inflation, despite a strong job market. Kia mentioned it before the break. But the strong market that's staving off that recession, basically keeping it from happening is what we're trying to say, could be at risk.
As the U.S. birth rate plummets, experts say immigration could be the key to saving our workforce. Let's connect the dots. As we near Election Day, voters on both sides of the aisle are scrutinizing U.S. immigration policy. But As the country's workforce gets older and retires, it's becoming increasingly evident that immigration is one of the biggest factors offsetting inflation. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says we're already seeing those effects in real time. Amid last year's soaring inflation, immigrants' involvement in the workforce was a key factor that kept the country from plunging into a recession. By 2040, experts believe immigration will account for the entirety of America's population growth because fertility rates are so low. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Connect the dots and let us clear up the confusion. We're here to make sure the news makes sense. And with Connect the Dots, you'll understand how the headlines impact your family. See the difference on WCNC Charlotte. Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. America's economy is the #1 in the world. But before you start celebrating, experts say it comes with downsides.
The U.S. economy is predicted to be the top economy in the world. But history shows that could lead to some problems. Let's connect the dots. The International Monetary Fund expects the U.S. to outpace major economies like China and Europe in terms of growth. That's because while most of those economies are shrinking, we're actually growing. Experts say this is due to several reasons. Despite high inflation, Americans are spending more, investing in business, and getting help from the government. But there are some dangers people need to be wary of. A strong economy can lead to increased demand for goods, which drives up prices and makes inflation even worse. To combat this, the Federal Reserve could keep interest rates high or raise them even higher, making it difficult to borrow money, slowing economic growth. And that is Connecting the Dots.
People across our area spending the day cleaning up after those strong storms swept through this weekend. Take a look at some of this video and some of the photos that viewers sent in to us. Golf ball-sized hail coming down in Rock Hill on Saturday, coupled with strong winds. The National Weather Service will be in the area tomorrow to survey the damage. And WCNC Charlotte's Anna King has more on what people are dealing with.
Well, looking around here, you can kind of see what's left of the storm, just debris and branches falling everywhere. And people here told me they've never seen anything like this before.
It sounded like somebody just took a bucket and just threw rocks at the window.
People were screaming, I know, and a lot of people were outside after to just check it out. It was kind of insane.
Students at Winthrop University recount the crazy hailstorm that took people in the area by surprise.
Genuinely, it was so loud. We ran down the hall to figure out what was going on, and there's just hail coming down. And I went and checked my car, and there was a crack on my windshield got bigger.
Saturday's storm left people with damage to their cars, homes, and businesses, as well as fallen trees and power lines. The city says there were more than 60 broken poles caused by the winds and downed trees. They say it will take around 3 days to restore power to everyone.
I saw a few cars driving back home with just busted windows, a few dented. It was rough.
Now people continuing to clean up and figure out the cost for any repairs. Now, people here also claim they saw a tornado during the storm as well, but as of now, those are just rumors. Tomorrow, the National Weather Service will be surveying to determine what exactly happened. In Rock Hill, Anna King, WCNC Charlotte.
And Rock Hill school students will have an e-learning day tomorrow. The district says it made the decision because many roads remain unpassable and some households still don't have power. All after-school activities are also canceled. The district says it is still assessing the situation before making a call about Tuesday's classes. You can always turn to the free WCNC Charlotte app to see if you need to change any of your weekend plans. You can track the latest conditions near you with our radar.
Forecast, why don't we? Live pictures right now over I-77 at 277 John Bell Freeway. Both of them right there. Background of gorgeous uptown skyline. Chris joins us right now with a look at what is a very nice but kind of steamy Thursday.
Yeah, we're definitely feeling the difference, almost like it's June. 88 degrees. Whoo! By the way, we should be in the mid to the upper 70s typically this time of year, even to begin the month of May, where the 80s flourished 9 times through the month of April. 77 for a high right around Boone. Now, we are looking at a mostly clear day, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to develop a few of those fair weather cumulus clouds. We're already starting to see that here in Union County, but still a sunny day nonetheless. The warmest days of 2024, it was back on the 18th of April that we hit 89 degrees. Then we had back-to-back days at 88. So it's been tough to get to that mark, but I have a high of 88 for today and then 86 on Friday. This could be out down by a degree, so I don't think we're going to hit that 90-degree point yet. However, we'll see temperatures come down a little bit where there will be some rain this weekend, but 90 degrees is possible a week from today, and that would still be ahead of schedule. On average, we usually hit 90 for the first time in Charlotte May 20th, and that's dating back to 1878 worth of records, and that would also be much earlier than we have had over the last 5 years. The earliest we've otherwise had is May 18th. Hour by hour forecast. Mid-80s to the upper 80s throughout the afternoon. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to be seeing a big difference here. We're seeing a slight chance for a little bit of rain. I would say late day heading into the evening. You're also going to see more clouds for tomorrow. That's also going to suppress our temperatures, where our rainfall chances really crank up for Saturday and for Sunday, lingering on Monday. This is not great news because we know there's a lot going on. There's a big concert in Charlotte. There's the Strawberry Festival. There's multiple baseball games across the area, where in the meantime, we're sitting pretty. For the first half of tomorrow, I don't think you're looking at any rain. By the time you get to about the 2 o'clock hour, we might see a spotty shower, but I really don't think it's until after 7 o'clock we could have a few showers. But one thing you're going to notice, it's really west of I-77 that has more concentration of activity compared to areas further off towards the east. So tomorrow, we still have it that most of the area will have a chance for thunderstorms by the evening, but then on Saturday, similar thing goes. It's right around Charlotte to about Albemarle, but it's not a guarantee for the entire area. So here's a closer look at our futurecast. Here's midnight or a noon tomorrow. We see showers starting to move in. So here's the chance. Notice most of it's still west of I-77. So if you have any plans this area, that's going to be a much better chance for some activity, but we'll have some lingering rain heading into the morning. So say if you have anything on Saturday, might be a few showers, but I think that we hit a break. This is the best chance for a little bit of lull from Charlotte down to Rock Hill. That's the early afternoon. Once you get to the middle of the afternoon, that's going to be our best thunderstorm potential. So really starting to see things crank up at this point, and then you might hit another lull a little bit later on in the evening. So not a complete washout, but any outdoor plans, if there is thunder and lightning, you'll be under the 30-30 rule, where you have to wait 30 minutes until you next or don't hear thunder. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast showing a big drop in temperatures because of that rain and lack of sunshine Saturday and Sunday, but then boom, right back up to the upper 80s, challenging 90 degrees again next Wednesday.
.15 right now. Time to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. It may be tempting for your kids to stay in bed this morning, especially since it's Monday, but experts are concerned about the rise in empty seats in the classroom.
More and more kids are missing school. Let's connect the dots. It's a trend schools across the country are seeing: chronic absenteeism. In a new report from the American Enterprise Institute, which is a conservative-leaning think tank, 26% of public school students missed 10% of school days last year. That's compared to 15% in 2019. So what's behind the big jump? It all comes down to the pandemic, and it's making it tough on teachers to keep students engaged and learning. Experts say the pandemic shifted our relationship with school, allowing some to see it as optional. The reasons students are missing class range from wealthy parents taking kids out to go on vacation to students struggling with anxiety opting to stay home. Schools are doing everything from one-on-one counseling to pajama days to lure kids back. But many education experts expect this is going to be an issue for years to come. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Losing the winningest coach in program history, Charlotte thinks it struck gold with Tamika Reed. The Niners' new women's basketball coach was introduced this afternoon on campus. Reed is a 3-time national HBCU Coach of the Year after a remarkable run at Jackson State. That run included 3 SWAC tournament titles and 4 Conference Coach of the Year honors.
And I want to thank you to the current players. I've talked to you guys, and one thing I've heard consistently is that you love this place, that you have positioned yourself for greatness, and that you are hungry to win championships. Well, you have the right one. I have no doubt what we will do together. We will not just be the standard, we will be the true definition of the gold standard.
Got a very impressive resume. Reed replacing Kara Consuegra, who went to Marquette. She becomes the 9th coach in program history. Staying on campus.
Tonight, we continue to learn more about the suspect in that deadly shooting yesterday in Charlotte, Terry Clark Hughes Jr.
We do know he has a lengthy criminal history, as Nate Morabito has been talking about. In May of 2021, he was arrested on marijuana charges and fleeing and eluding police, but was released. Lots of people are questioning why.
WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg is live in studio with us and gets us the facts in today's Verified Fact Check. Megan.
Yeah, guys, and this is Terry Clark Hughes Jr.'s rap sheet from that 2021 drug arrest. Now, you can see he was picked up on several charges of possession of marijuana and fleeing and eluding police. Hours after he was locked up, he was released, and many, but not all of those charges were dismissed. Now, many on social media are asking why. So let's get the facts.
Our source is defense attorney Aaron Lee and the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. The Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office booked Terry Clark Hughes Jr. on 7 different charges in 2021, including possession of marijuana, paraphernalia, and fleeing arrest.
In Mecklenburg County, those are considered very low-level charges and are going to get very low bonds, if not unsecured bonds. So you're just really waiting to be processed through, and as quick as that can happen, you'd be released.
Also in 2021, Mecklenburg County District Attorney Spencer Merriweather told WCNC in an effort to prosecute more homicides and violent crimes, his office would no longer be prosecuting most marijuana, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine possession cases.
With 100 homicides a year, I do not have time to carry those cases for 2.5 years.
But since Hughes had also recently faced several other charges in other counties, some are wondering if those were taken into account when he was released so quickly.
We know now, hindsight, how bad he could have been. It's so unforeseeable. People miss court dates. Dozens and dozens every single day.
Now, guys, we did send an email to the Mecklenburg County DA's office to follow up on these questions. We are waiting to hear back from them.
All right, thank you so much, Megan.
Folks and families living with the impacts of ALS know it is a consistent battle that takes almost all of facets of your life over.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a prominent Charlotte family that's keeping their father's memory alive despite that fight by supporting those that are going through the same fight. WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden shows us the nonprofit that is seeking solutions and truly saving lives.
An ALS diagnosis impacts the entire family, and a family who dealt with this with their own loved one more than a decade ago is now trying to help others, trying to ease the burden for other families.
I have a very rare but lucky form of ALS that moves extremely slow.
It may seem hard to imagine that Nikki McDonough calls herself lucky, but when it comes to ALS, the progressive disease that can often move very quickly, the 44-year-old is grateful despite battling the daunting illness.
It changed everything. I went from an independent person who, had a career and a life, and it kind of took all of that away. I had to relearn things. I had to learn how to accept help.
Some of that help has come from the Joe Martin Foundation. Based here in Charlotte, Martin was a beloved Bank of America executive who battled ALS for 12 years. After he died, his caretakers and family teamed up to start the foundation in his honor.
This is what he wanted to happen, and it's happening, and every year it gets better.
The foundation provides mental and physical help for people with ALS and their families, even providing important equipment and an aid, all for free.
So this gives me more independence. I feel more on my own.
Because she says the disease can be overwhelming.
Every day something's getting worse, and every day you have to learn to do something new to adjust to that. So you just have constant questions and anxiety about where your life's going to go, what's going to happen next. So it changes your whole outlook on life.
Joe B. Martin knows that all too well. His dad was Joe Martin. Now he and the rest of the foundation are working to spread awareness, bringing a Broadway star, Aaron Lazar, who is also battling ALS, to Charlotte.
This is really a gift back to the community to help people, to help the community be better at being a community, because there's somebody around you who needs some hope.
Like Nikki, who says in addition to sending an aid to help her and all kinds of equipment, hope is the thing she needed most. And that's what the foundation gave her.
And they just kind of step in and help you take a deep breath and realize we can do this one thing at a time. And they send help
The organization has seen so much success, they're getting ready to expand to Greensboro and Winston-Salem. And if you want more information on the Joe Martin Foundation event that's coming up, check out our website, WCNC.com. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
Part of the goal of our Seeking Solutions segments is to shine a light on those who are making a difference and giving a voice to those who might often go unheard.
So we wanted to ask you this: whose voices are we missing? If you know a group or individual who's trying to improve our community, we want to hear about them. You can send an email to newstips@WCNC.com or reach out to us on social media.
Everybody's talking about
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense? Well, in just a few hours, the Federal Reserve will consider lowering interest rates. But if you're looking to buy a house, you'll need to look at more than just interest rates when locking down a mortgage.
Your credit score could be the biggest factor in securing your next loan. Let's connect the dots. The payoff has almost never been bigger for people with excellent credit scores. The Wall Street Journal reports folks with scores 800 and higher locked in an average interest rate of 7.15% from private lenders. That's compared to the average rate of about 7.3% for central bank borrowers. It's great news for people with high scores because it gives them the opportunity to shop around for lower rates. Here in North Carolina, folks with good credit can get near a 6.6% rate. Banks used to have the lowest rates in town, but now mortgage companies have taken that title. As long as that's the case, folks with high credit scores will have a massive leg up when the time comes to buy a home. And that is connecting the dots.
more than 4 million Americans will turn 65 this year, which means they'll have to navigate a new health care journey, Medicare. That's according to a report from the Alliance for Lifetime Income.
If you tuned into our 6 o'clock newscast yesterday, you saw a report from our Nate Morbido laying out a Medicare error that dropped a cancer patient's coverage before she could even get treatment. Now, that mistake was resolved, but the situation provides a glimpse of the sometimes complicated process. We understand choosing coverage and looking at the options can be a lot to sort through.
Yeah, here's WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal with what young seniors need to know to get ahead of this new milestone.
Adults turning 65 this year have much to consider when choosing a Medicare plan and provider, from evaluating current health care needs to anticipating changing life situations. Frankly, the process can be a little daunting. So where should they begin? Dr. Jennifer Taylor, the lead medical director at Humana, says it's important for older adults to start their research now.
Because it's really important to understand all the different parts of Medicare so you can make a decision based on your own individual needs.
Taylor says there's the traditional Medicare plan, which covers hospital visits and ER visits, but adds those have a deductible.
You also can buy a plan called a Part D plan that covers your prescriptions.
She says while anyone at any age should have a primary care doctor, that's absolutely imperative for older adults.
Because having a doctor that knows you, your own personal history, and your own individual health needs can make a real difference in terms of your quality of life and your longevity.
Also, make sure you know all that your Medicare plan can do for you so you can maximize your benefits and stay healthy.
It's super important to understand your benefits. Medicare Part B, for example, offers a lot of things that you might not even be aware of, like help with tobacco cessation or help if you have a problem with alcohol.
To learn more about which Medicare plans and doctors might work best for you, visit the WCNC Charlotte News app. Back to you.
Whether it's navigating the Medicare process like this, lowering your insurance rates, or just saving money in general, WCNC Charlotte wants to help you get ahead this year. Our team has put together a guide packed with tips and resources that can make a difference in your personal and financial goals. Just text Get Ahead to 704-329-3600 and we'll send you a link to that resource guide.
Forecast, why don't we? Live pictures right now. over I-270 or I-77 at 277 John Bell Freeway. Both of them right there. Background of gorgeous uptown skyline. Chris joins us right now with a look at what is a very nice but kind of steamy Thursday.
Yeah, we're definitely feeling the difference, almost like it's June, 88 degrees. Whoo! By the way, we should be in the mid to the upper 70s typically this time of year, even to begin the month of May, where the 80s flourish 9 times through the month of April. 77 for a high right around Boone. Now, we are looking at a mostly clear day, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to develop a few of those fair weather cumulus clouds. We're already starting to see that here in Union County, but still a sunny day nonetheless. The warmest days of 2024, it was back on the 18th of April that we hit 89 degrees. Then we had back-to-back days at 88. So it's been tough to get to that mark, but I have a high of 88 for today and then 86 on Friday. This could be outdone by a degree, so I don't think we're going to hit that 90-degree point yet. However, we'll see temperatures come down a little bit where there will be some rain this weekend, but 90 degrees is possible a week from today, and that would still be ahead of schedule. On average, we usually hit 90 for the first time in Charlotte May 20th, and that's dating back to 1878 worth of records, and that would also be much earlier than we have had over the last 5 years. The earliest we've otherwise had is May 18th. Hour-by-hour forecast. Mid-80s to the upper 80s throughout the afternoon. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to be seeing a big difference here. We're seeing a slight chance for a little bit of rain. I would say late day heading into the evening. You're also going to see more clouds for tomorrow. That's also going to suppress our temperatures, where our rainfall chances really crank up for Saturday and for Sunday, lingering on Monday. This is not great news because we know there's a lot going on. There's a big concert in Charlotte. There's a Strawberry Festival. There's multiple baseball games across the area, where in the meantime, we're sitting pretty. For the first half of tomorrow, I don't think you're looking at any rain. By the time you get to about the 2 o'clock hour, we might see a spotty shower, but I really don't think it's until after 7 o'clock we could have a few showers. But one thing you're going to notice, it's really west of I-77 that has more concentration of activity compared to areas further off towards the east. So tomorrow, we still have it that most of the area will have a chance for thunderstorms by the evening, but then on Saturday, similar thing goes. It's right around Charlotte to about Albemarle, but it's not a guarantee for the entire area. So here's a closer look at our futurecast. Here's midnight or noon tomorrow. We see showers starting to move in. So here's the chance. Notice most of it's still west of I-77. So if you have any plans this area, that's going to be a much better chance for some activity, but we'll have some lingering rain heading into the morning. So say if you have anything on Saturday, might be a few showers, but I think that we hit a break. This is the best chance for a little bit of lull from Charlotte down to Rock Hill. That's the early afternoon. Once you get to the middle of the afternoon, that's going to be our best thunderstorm potential. So really starting to see things crank up at this point. And
this is a WCNC Charlotte special report.
President Biden wrapping up a visit to Charlotte after meeting with the families of the 4 fallen officers. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Nick Sturtevant. Let's take you out live to West Charlotte, where you can see Air Force One ready to take the president to Wilmington, where he is scheduled to talk about infrastructure and a campaign stop there. In addition to visiting with families here in Charlotte, we're told he also met with some of the officers who were shot on Monday.
That is Governor Roy Cooper, of course, just getting out of the SUV following President Biden up the stairs into Air Force One right now. We also saw the president with North Carolina Cooper earlier, Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles and CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings. His visit, of course, all to pay respect to CMPD Officer Joshua Iyer, U.S. Deputy Marshal Thomas Weeks, and correction officers Alden Elliott and Sam Pelocci, who died while trying to serve a warrant as they both walked into Air Force One. Police were able to shoot and kill that suspect Monday, but the pain, again, unimaginable for the families.
And Biden flew in anyway. He landed here in Charlotte Douglas International Airport about, I think we clocked it at 1:05, and he's been here now a little over 2 hours as, again, he heads off to Wilmington for that campaign stop, meeting with the families. We saw as he came off Air Force One, it was emotional. I mean, obviously we couldn't hear what they were saying, but you could see it.
There were some comforting there. We have our Giglio Kaufman, who is among the media allowed to be present for his landing. Let's check in with her now.
Hey guys, yeah, we are here on the media platform, just on the tarmac here at the National Guard base, as you just watched President Biden get back onto Air Force One with Governor Roy Cooper. He was here for well over an hour, meeting with family members of the officers who were killed in Monday's shooting and victims that were shot who were hurt in the incident. So we are hoping to learn more about how those meetings went. Of course, you can imagine emotions ran high, and they were private meetings. They were closed to the press. But he really took his time, as we're told, meeting individually with people here at the airport. So we know that Biden is here to show his support. He put out a statement Monday night, the night right after the tragedy, saying the victims are heroes and they made the ultimate sacrifice. He specifically addressed families of the officers killed in that statement, saying he and the First Lady and all of America will always be here for them. So of course he's now showing that with his actions being here, and we see national press rolling out now and the doors to Air Force One closing as they head to their next stop. So a short but very impactful visit here in Charlotte as families still grapple with grief and make plans for funeral arrangements, guys.
Absolutely. Julia, thank you for bringing us the latest pictures there from the tarmac at Charlotte Douglas.
Yeah, man, again, the doors closing as President Biden heads to Wilmington, where he will again make a campaign stop, talking about infrastructure there.
You have been watching a WCNC Charlotte special report. I'm Jane Monreal.
And I'm Nick Sturdivant. For more coverage to help the families of the fallen officers, you can scan the QR code right there at the top right of your screen. We are also asking for your help. Tonight, we are partnering with Back the Blue NC and iHeartMedia for a phone bank to help the families of fallen officers. For now, we return to your regular programming.
Saw the president throw out of his car when he was driving by.
Does anybody, I know it's been super hot, is anyone going to need to take a quick break inside before they head to their car? Or do you guys need water or anything? I mean, I think I might have some water left maybe. You guys good? Yeah, it's just so hot out here. I want to make sure everybody's healthy. We have to go do our Irish. Oh, great. Yeah, so water would be good. Yeah, let me see if I can wrestle some up.